Hello, my name is Tony Tweedy. I'm Director of Lifelong Learning Skills and Community in Sheffield City Council. And our service does what it says on the tin really in terms of lifelong learning. Our notion is that regardless of age, it's our job to make sure that we equip both young people and adults with the skills they will need to move into the opportunities that the city can offer them and beyond. So that means that at 14, for those young people who wish to have a broader curriculum than simply occurs within school and GCSEs, we offer a very wide range of provision to those young people through our training sites and through our other partners. That means at 16, for those young people, particularly those who are unlikely to move into college or sixth form, we want to make sure that we pick them up and maintain those young people within the system. It means at 19, when we're not clear where those young people can go in terms of job opportunities in particular, that we actually make sure those opportunities are available to them, that they're well equipped for work. And equally for adults, and particularly those adults who are finding it hard to access work or who require a greater degree of skill level to be able to get into work, it's equipping them with those levels of skills to be able to do just that. So essentially we're a service, I think, that really concentrates on those who are in most need of support, most need of help, wherever they are and in whatever part of the city. And clearly there's some very vulnerable groups in our city, and we concentrate very hard on meeting their particular needs. More broadly than that though, we have responsibility for determining major strategies for the city as well. So what do we do in terms of 14 to 19 education and the strategy that the city and our partners have for that? What do we do in terms of the employment strategy for the city, and how do we organise our partners to make sure that we maximise job opportunities for our citizens? And equally, how do we make sure that our citizens have the skills that our businesses will require, and which give them the opportunity to move on in terms of career progression?
My name is Dee Daygrange, and I'm one of the Assistant Directors in Lifelong Learning Skills and Communities, which is one of the sections of the Children and Young People Service in Sheffield City Council. And Lifelong Learning and Skills does what it says on the tin really. Our service is made up of 6 distinct blocks. First one I'll talk to you about is the work that we do around 14 to 19, which is mainly around strategic development, and we lead the city's 14 to 19 partnership working. Here in this service particularly, we broker and quality assure provision for approximately 1,200 14 to 16-year-olds across the city through a number of providers who we commission to do work for young people that takes place not in school. So that could range from engineering or health and social care, it could be construction, it could be with the voluntary and community sector. And that's for a whole range of reasons. Sometimes it's young people not being able to do that learning in school, like engineering being quite specific, for example. Or sometimes it's re-engagement activity for those youngsters that might be thinking about not going to school quite so often as they should. We support services around information, advice and guidance. And we have enterprise champions who work with schools and with young people to actually improve their entrepreneurial skills in the best possible way, of course. We're also responsible for the youth services for Sheffield, and we commission Sheffield Futures to deliver information, advice and guidance and youth work on behalf of the city. And we also run the Positive Activities programmes, which is activities for all ages, 8 upwards, across the city for young people to get involved in. That could be sport, it could be cultural activities, recreational activities, again, to make sure that they're engaged in things that are of a positive nature, hence it being called Positive Activities, I suppose. We also have the Youth Justice Service as part of our responsibilities, and that's in 2 parts. So that's working with young people who might be at risk of becoming known to the youth justice system, or those young people who have been known to the youth justice system and need some help getting their lives back in order again to make sure that they can actually fulfil their potential and make sure that they are part of the workforce of the future. Part of our service too is around performance and analysis, and we supply all the data that the whole of the Children and Young People Service needs to make sure that we're meeting the needs of young people in the city and improving their outcomes. So that's a bit of a back office function really. Lots and lots of information that we hold around young people and their families to be able to improve service planning and delivery. The strategic support section of the service actually supports all of the developments that we do, and again another back office function. Helps us to source funding where we can from external sources and to put things in place strategically within the service for the benefit of the city as a whole. The employment and skills part of the service works with partners across the city and across the region to source opportunities to move people nearer to the labour market, and to work with specific groups, for example those with learning difficulties, to make sure that employment opportunities are sourced for them too. The employment and skills section also leads on the economic regeneration aspect of our work, linking in with the council as a whole to make sure that we're maximising opportunities when organisations and industries come into the city for apprenticeships and for work experience and for jobs for our citizens. Opportunity Sheffield is part of this service, and Opportunity Sheffield is the employer-facing section. So Opportunity Sheffield team work with employers to make sure their needs are met in terms of having a throughput of apprentices and workers, and also that their training and development needs are adhered to too. My bit of the service is known as Family and Communities, and that covers a range of activities from supporting the work of the Children's University, who actually work with primary and secondary schools to allow young people to take part in activities not in school, which are credited and celebrated with badges and certificates at awards ceremonies across the city. The MTAS service, the Ethnic Minority and Travellers Achievement Service, work with certain groups across the city, travellers, certain ethnic minority groups. They work with study support consortia to make sure that the needs of those groups are met in terms of improving attainment and achievement across all areas and across all levels. We have NEETS funding, that's funding for young people not currently in education, employment or training, which we source through the European Social Fund, and again through an extensive network of partners we deliver a range of exciting opportunities for young people to get back into learning. Those young people are generally aged between 16 and 18. That can be out in the community, it can be some specific vocational work, it can be something that pursues a young person's interest in order to make them more employable in the future, and then feed back into the mainstream provision. Family learning and adult learning are delivered out in community settings. Family learning is working with parents to make sure that they can have the skills to support their young people to do their homework, for example, or can support them with their reading in a home environment. And adult learning focuses on upskilling adults 19 plus, particularly around maths and English, to help them to become more employable too, and provides English for speakers of other languages, as well as some vocational work. And again, we do that through partnerships across the city. And in addition to this, we also have our own training centres. So Red Tape Central in the centre of town, where creative and media work and IT and business admin take place. Sheep Training in the north of the city, where we run apprenticeships and further education classes across a whole spectrum of vocational areas. And the Construction Design Centre, based on the Kia site at Manor Lane, which does construction and design for young people and adults from 14 upwards. So a spectrum of activity that we deliver here through lifelong learning skills and communities with our partners across the city, with a mission to improve the outcomes for young people and adults across the city, particularly those from the more disadvantaged backgrounds.